Have you ever looked at your own resume, or maybe just thought about the unpredictable twists and turns your life has taken, and asked yourself how on earth you got here from there?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Just think about it for a second. Have you ever made a massive, seemingly illogical career pivot?
It's a very common experience, actually. Most people look back at their past roles, especially the ones that, don't neatly align with what they do now, and they just write them off as wasted time.
Like it was just a detour.
Exactly. We tend to view our careers as ladders where anything stepping sideways is a distraction. But it rarely works like that in reality.
And that brings us directly to the focus of today's deep dive. We are exploring the career trajectory and, really, the highly specific market strategies of Cara Conde.
Right.
She is an elite luxury real estate advisor operating out of Indianapolis, and we are analyzing her work right now amidst the completely surging market of the year 2026.
The source material we're working with today provides a very clear window into her methodology. We're looking at her comprehensive professional portfolio alongside a rather candid, unfiltered blog post she authored.
Yeah, the title of that post is great. It's called Beyond the Broker, Cara Conde's Unfiltered Journey from Oxford Code to Indianapolis Crown Jewels.
It's a fascinating read, and alongside that post, we also have access to a massive catalog of her market insights spanning 2024 through 2026.
So our mission for this deep dive is to extract the actionable takeaways, the real aha moments from her unusual path.
Right.
We are going to look at how someone studies computer science at Oxford University and then leverages that highly technical background to gain an edge in high-end luxury real estate.
Which sounds completely disconnected at first.
Completely. And along the way, we're going to break down her strategic insights into what is actually driving the 2026 Indianapolis market.
Looking at the most disruptive professionals across various industries, you rarely see a straightforward path. Innovation usually happens when someone takes the foundational principles from one totally unrelated field and applies them to another.
They bring an outsider's perspective.
Exactly. The rules of one domain become the secret weapon in a new one.
So let's look at how she bridges that specific gap. Because on paper, there's a massive disconnect here.
Oh, massive.
Before she was dealing with velvet ropes, multi-million-dollar negotiations, and off-market mansions, she was studying computer science at Oxford.
Right.
She actually describes her younger self as a digital gladiator. She writes about sitting in these ancient libraries, fueled by endless cups of tea, just wrestling with complex algorithms.
It paints quite a picture.
It really does. But it seems worlds away from, say, selling a waterfront estate in Geist. How does a background in code translate to selling real estate?
Well, on the surface, they do look like total opposites. One is abstract and screen-bound, and the other is highly tangible and deeply relational. But she hit on a realization during those late nights at Oxford. She writes that computer science wasn't just a degree to her. She viewed it as and I love this phrase, a decoder ring for the universe's patterns.
A decoder ring, meaning she isn't just looking at the code itself, but the underlying structure of how information moves.
Precisely. Real estate, particularly at the luxury and commercial tiers, is entirely driven by patterns.
Okay, I see.
It's a really complex web of demographic shifts, capital flows, zoning changes, and economic indicators. Cara essentially took her Oxford decoder ring and pointed it at the Indianapolis property market to read the matrix of how property values move.
She gives a very specific example in her post about a time she had to debug a software program that had just spectacularly crashed.
Yes, that's a great anecdote.
Now, you would assume the takeaway there is about, writing cleaner code or being more careful with syntax.
Sure, the technical lesson.
But she notes that what it really taught her was extreme psychological resilience in the face of absolute chaos.
And if you think about the mechanics of a high-stakes real estate negotiation, that makes perfect sense.
Oh, so.
When a delicate, off-market deal involving high-net-worth individuals starts to unravel at the 11th hour, maybe an inspection reveals a structural flaw or financing hits a sudden snag, it is pure chaos.
Everyone panics.
Emotions run incredibly high. Millions of dollars are literally on the line. Her ability to stay clinical, to systematically debug the emotional and financial crash of a deal without panicking, that is a direct application of that tech resilience.
That is fascinating. Let's look at the mechanics of how she uses that tech background today. In her 2026 writings, she talks about using predictive AI models to spot market whispers before they become roars.
Yes.
She uses this phrase, she's looking for constellations of hidden estates, But what does that actually mean in practice? How is she using tech to find a waterfront gem in Geist or a hidden enclave in Carmel before anyone else does?
It really comes down to identifying the variables that lead to a property changing hands before the owner even contacts an agent. By the time a luxury property hits the public MLS, the opportunity for a truly bespoke, advantageous acquisition is usually gone.
Because everyone can see it.
Exactly. The secret is out. So rather than waiting for a listing, her methodology involves crossing multiple data points. She might aggregate public zoning meeting minutes, tax records, and demographic data.
So she's looking for the overlap.
Right. For instance, identifying aging populations in specific large lot Carmel zip codes to predict exactly when a massive estate might quietly need to be downsized.
So she's seeing the underlying binary logic of the market and translating that into actionable leads for her clients.
Yes, she's finding the signal in the noise.
She has a line in her blog post where she says, "Code doesn't lie, but it does love a good plot twist."
It's a brilliant quote.
Which is a great prompt for you listening right now. Think about that seemingly unrelated degree you have or that weird job you worked in your 20s. How might the underlying logic of those dormant skills be your secret weapon today?
It's a very useful framework for self-evaluation. For Cara, that plot twist happened in 2002.
Right, the pivot.
That was the year she completely shifted away from the abstract tech world and entered real estate. But she didn't begin as a high-end advisor with a polished portfolio.
No, she started as a personal investor, specifically flipping homes.
And she is very candid about how difficult that era was.
She jokes that if these were property flips, hers were more like acrobatic somersaults.
I love that description. It really captures the chaos.
It wasn't glamorous at all. She details one of her early flips that was a near disaster because of a leaky roof. And honestly, buying a house with a bad roof just sounds like a standard rookie mistake. What is the actual lesson there?
Well, it is a rookie mistake. But the lesson is about where true value resides. When you are the one holding the bag on a failing property, the financial and psychological toll is immense.
Because it's your money on the line.
Exactly. The lesson she took from that leaky roof became foundational to her current philosophy. She realized that true value lies in vision, not veneer.
Meaning it's easy to be distracted by the cosmetic appeal, the staging, the fresh paint, the veneer.
Correct. As an investor, if you can't see the structural reality, the compromised roof, the failing foundation, you'll lose your capital.
Right.
But conversely, if you can't see the potential vision beneath a flawed, outdated surface, you miss the opportunity entirely. She learned to evaluate properties based on their bones and their math, not their staging.
That on-the-ground experience clearly grounded her approach. She didn't just lean on her predictive AI and hope the data was enough.
Not at all.
She built on that gritty 2002 investor experience by acquiring serious credentials. She mentions earning her Certified Negotiation Expert Badge, or CNE, which she refers to as her ninja moves for high art tactics.
Yes.
She also became a luxury home marketing specialist for those high net worth insights.
The distinction here is that she treats these not as vanity badges, but as force multipliers.
Force multipliers, explain that.
When you combine the predictive data sifting capability of an Oxford-trained coder with the battle-tested, financially exposed grit of a property flipper, and then refine that with specialized negotiation training, you get a highly systematic advisor. She's sourcing off-market properties because she has the data to find them, but she's actually closing them because she has the tactical negotiation skills to navigate the human element.
Which brings us to the actual market she's operating in right now. Looking through her catalog of articles from 2024 to 2026, the volume of data she tracks is intense.
It's staggering.
What is her analysis of the 2026 Indianapolis market? What is actually happening on the ground there?
Her data outlines a city experiencing a multi-tiered boom. One of the primary indicators she tracks is an 8 to 12% appreciation forecast, specifically localized in premium pockets of the city.
8 to 12% is huge.
It is. But she ties this directly to macroeconomic shifts, most notably the Federal Reserve's 0.25% rate cut.
Wait, let's pause on that 0.25% rate cut.
Okay.
To an outsider, 0.25% sounds completely negligible. Why does that specific tiny metric unlock the 2026 housing market?
It's all about scale. If you are looking at a typical starter home, 0.25% might save you a few dollars a month.
Right, maybe the cost of a couple of coffees.
Exactly. But in Cara's world, if a client is financing a portion of a $3 million estate in Meridian Kessler, a 0.25% drop dramatically alters their debt-to-income strategy.
Oh, the math gets a lot bigger.
Significantly. It reduces the carrying cost of the capital by a massive margin. What Cara noted was that this tiny shift was enough of a psychological and financial trigger to pull highly affluent buyers off the sidelines.
Buyers who had just been waiting.
Yes, buyers who had been sitting in cash, waiting out the high rates of 2024 and 2025.
That makes perfect sense. She also explicitly notes that Central Indiana is poised to beat the National Association of Realtors, the NAR's national 14% forecast for housing comeback.
She does.
And she attributes a large part of this localized surge to affluent relocations, specifically highlighting buyers moving from Chicago to the Indianapolis suburbs.
Yes, the capital flight from higher tax, higher density urban centers to places like Carmel and Zionsville is a major driver.
But her analysis goes much deeper than just housing metrics.
It really does. She consistently tracks cultural and commercial developments as leading indicators for residential demand.
This is a really compelling part of her strategy. She isn't just staring at interest rates all day. She writes extensively about how sports and culture actively drive real estate.
It's a huge factor.
She has an entire analysis dedicated to the impact of basketball star Caitlin Clark on Indy's sports culture and how that specifically drives demand for apartment real estate. How does a basketball player affect apartment leases?
It's a cascading economic effect. A major generational sports figure elevates the national profile of a city.
Right. People want to see her play.
Exactly. That increased visibility directly boosts sports tourism. Higher tourism drives up the hospitality sector and the profitability of short-term rentals.
Ah, I see where this is going.
As short-term rentals become more lucrative, investors buy up available housing stock to convert them, which squeezes the long-term rental supply, thereby driving up demand and pricing for multifamily apartment buildings.
That is wild. Cara tracks the athlete to predict the commercial real estate yields.
Precisely. She connects the cultural phenomenon to the hard economic outcome.
That is fascinating.
No.
And she tracks corporate movements the exact same way. She notes Cadillac placing its Formula One headquarters in Fishers.
Yes.
And she even tracks niche lifestyle trends, like the Pickler opening a massive new pickleball facility in Westfield.
Because she understands that luxury buyers are purchasing access to a specific lifestyle infrastructure.
They aren't just buying the house.
No, they are buying the community. If you know where the high-end corporate headquarters and the elite recreational facilities are breaking ground, you know exactly where affluent buyers are going to want to purchase homes in the next 18 to 24 months.
The commercial infrastructure precedes the residential demand.
Every time.
Speaking of commercial infrastructure, her expertise as a commercial strategist is a huge part of her 2025 and 2026 writing. She is navigating highly complex financial waters here.
She certainly is.
She writes about self-storage as a primary commercial play. She highlights early education real estate, calling it a recession-resistant asset class, quietly taking over Indiana.
Which is incredibly astute.
She even details master lease options for investors when traditional banking says no.
Her fluency in the technical language of institutional investing is quite rare for someone who also handles luxury residential.
Yeah, she regularly breaks down concepts like 1031 exchanges, debt service coverage ratios, or DSCR net operating income, and even highly specific government programs like single-room occupancy housing and HUD 221 loans.
It's a very dense portfolio of knowledge.
Wait, let's unpack a couple of those, because that is a lot of dense financial terminology. For instance, what exactly is a 1031 exchange, and why does an advisor need to know about it?
A 1031 exchange is a specific section of the U.S. tax code. It essentially allows an investor to sell a property and defer paying the capital gains taxes on the profit.
Okay, deferring taxes is always good, but what's the catch?
The catch is they have to reinvest those proceeds into a new property of equal or greater value within a very strict timeline. So if Cara is advising a client on selling a commercial plaza, she needs to seamlessly orchestrate the purchase of the next asset so the client doesn't get hit with a massive tax bill.
The timing has to be perfect.
Flawless.
And what about the debt service coverage ratio, the DSCR she mentions?
DSCR is a metric lenders use to determine if a commercial property generates enough rental income to cover its own mortgage payments.
Okay.
A ratio of 1 means the income exactly covers the debt. Lenders usually want to see a 1.25 or higher.
Because that provides a buffer.
Exactly. Cara uses this math to evaluate commercial cash flow, proving that her old Vision, not veneer, philosophy applies just as much to evaluating the math on an apartment complex as it did to assessing the leaky roof on her residential flip back in 2002.
So we have a very clear picture of her methodology. She relies on the rigorous logic of an Oxford coder. She has the gritty, math-first reality check of a property flipper. She utilizes predictive AI models and deeply understands commercial tax codes.
It's a formidable combination.
It is. But looking at all of this together, doesn't this approach run the risk of being too clinical? With all the high-tech modeling and hard data, does her process feel robotic to the client?
It's a highly logical question to ask, but the reality is the exact opposite, and this reveals the core philosophy that truly differentiates her in the 2026 market.
How so?
Cara explains that her early journey experiencing the intense, screen-bound isolation of studying algorithms at Oxford and then pivoting into the highly relational, face-to-face rush of real estate taught her something vital. She learned that the most critical skill isn't data analysis, it's empathy.
She has a great way of phrasing this. She says the tech is just the tool. The ultimate goal is soul matching.
Soul matching. I think that perfectly encapsulates it.
And you can really see that human element when she writes about her off-duty passions. She isn't just a machine staring at spreadsheets and zoning laws all day.
Not at all. Her personal pursuits are deeply rooted in analog sensory experiences.
She writes about how she unplugs and recharges. She's passionate about complex, artisanal coffees, which she actually compares to the layered complexity of a caramel real estate negotiation.
Which is such a creative parallel.
She spends her free time wandering the hidden, historic trails around Indianapolis, drawing inspiration from how the city blends historical charm with modern momentum. And her biggest personal passion is decoding fine wines.
And the fine wine metaphor she uses is incredibly revealing regarding how she views her professional role.
Tell me more about that.
She notes that, much like the luxury estates she curates, the best wines are layered. They are full of surprising notes, and above all, they are worth the wait. You cannot rush the maturation of a great vintage.
Just like you can't rush the acquisition of a multi-generational family legacy.
Exactly.
That focus on legacy seems to be the driving force behind her residential work. She talks about growing up surrounded by tales of generational homes, which sparked her current devotion to multi-generational clients.
It's a very personal mission for her.
She doesn't seem to view a massive Geist waterfront property or a historic Meridian Kessler estate as just another asset in a portfolio.
She views them as family heirlooms, and when you view a property as an heirloom rather than a commodity, your entire approach to the transaction changes.
It has to.
It becomes deeply rooted in discretion. In the ultra-luxury market, privacy is frequently the ultimate commodity.
She states this very clearly. A whispered win trumps a shouted sale every time.
Exactly. She isn't optimizing for a flashy public listing or an announcement on social media if a quiet, off-market matchmaking process serves the family's privacy and legacy better.
The data finds the property, but the empathy protects the client.
That is beautifully put.
She summarizes this entire philosophy with a quote that perfectly captures her dual approach. She writes, "In luxury's labyrinth, the human touch isn't optional. It's the golden thread weaving whims into wonders."
It's a masterful synthesis of her two halves.
It really is.
The labyrinth represents the sheer complexity of the modern market, the predictive AI algorithms, the zoning regulations, the DSCR calculations, the interest rate fluctuations. It is a maze of data.
A very easy maze to get lost in.
Very easy. But the golden thread that actually guides the client through that maze to a successful, secure outcome is the human touch.
So, synthesizing all of this for you today, Cara Conde's trajectory into the heights of the 2026 Indianapolis market proves that the most effective professionals do not abandon their past experiences when they pivot.
They integrate them.
They integrate them. She took the cold, highly analytical logic of an Oxford codebreaker and seamlessly fused it with the warm, deeply personal empathy required to curate family legacies.
And the direct application for you listening right now is to examine your own career path. Stop viewing it as a straight ladder and start viewing it as a mosaic.
A mosaic. I like that.
It is a collection of calculated risks, bizarre detours, and serendipitous pivots. Just like Cara turning a crashed software program into the psychological resilience needed to salvage a multi-million-dollar commercial deal, your past experiences, even the ones that feel completely irrelevant, are the raw data for your next major breakthrough.
Which leaves us with a final lingering thought for you to consider.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've explored Cara's reliance on both cutting-edge predictive AI and deep human empathy. But let's look forward. As predictive AI becomes incredibly, flawlessly advanced, to the point where a computer algorithm can predict exactly, down to the minute, when an off-market crown jewel of a property will become available and automatically calculate the perfect financial terms.
Which is where the tech is heading.
Exactly. Does the real estate advisor eventually become obsolete? Or, conversely, when perfect data is instantly commodified and available to absolutely everyone on their phones, does that raw, unfiltered human touch, the psychology of the negotiation, the empathy of understanding a family's needs, the shared glass of fine wine to celebrate a legacy, does that become the only true luxury left in the entire transaction?
It is a profound paradox. As technology commodifies the information, the human empathy becomes the premium asset.
Definitely something to mull over. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking for those hidden plot twists in your own data, and we will catch you next time.